At my daughter's wedding, I discovered an incredible lesson when I unexpectedly fell while sitting. Mike Henderson stood at the entrance of the quaint church in Maplewood, Illinois, heart racing like a runaway freight train. His only daughter, Emily, was getting married today, and the weight of that moment felt both monumental and terrifying. The pews were packed with faces from years of memories, teachers who shaped his little girl's mind, farmers who tilled the same fields as their parents, and veterans whose stories of bravery inspired strength. As Emily, clad in her flowing white gown, exchanged gleaming smiles with Jake, a humble mechanic from their town, Mike was overwhelmed by an urge to shout, to let the world know just how proud he was, but in the midst of soaking it all in, as he prepared to take a seat filled with nostalgia and dreams, something unexpected happened. His foot snagged on the hem of the carpet, and before he knew it, he was tumbling down. Time slowed, and for a breathless moment, the vibrant atmosphere turned to a haunting hush. Gasps echoed through the church. He felt the world crumbling beneath him, just like the struggles that colored this small town. It wasn't just a misstep, it punctuated the very essence of their lives: the economic hardships, the daily grind, the struggles to keep dreaming. It struck a chord deep within, and he could feel it vibrating in the silence. As he hit the ground, laughter erupted from the back. It broke the tension like sunlight through storm clouds. Friends, neighbors, even strangers rushed to help him up, embodying the very spirit of community that had always defined their lives. Oh, how familiar it felt: the gentle pats on the back, the amused chuckles, the concern etched on their faces. It was a reminder that in their lives marked by grinding anxiety, they always had each other. Neighbors who were educators, farmers, and veterans gathered around him, sharing words of encouragement, strengthening the bonds that had always held them together. Regaining his composure, Mike found himself standing tall amid reassuring laughter and warmth. As he caught his breath, he looked out at the faces of the younger generations: Emily's friends, Jake's family, their future filled with hope and love, yet shadowed by the weight of dreams still unformed. This fall, albeit humiliating, sparked conversations that danced through the crowd, reflecting on the trials they faced. Barriers of class, shared values, real, tangible struggles that inspired resilience. It hit him like a freight train: what does it mean to rise after a fall? Each shared story around him resonated like an anthem of unity. Parents recounted their struggles, veterans spoke of coming home, and farmers shared tales of seasons lost and regained. The joy and tears that filled the room bolstered Mike's spirit, reminding him of the fight for recognition and dignity that had woven this tapestry together. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, within this sea of hope and laughter, a nagging thought crept into Mike's heart. What familial values would Emily carry into her marriage with Jake? How would they tackle the inevitable challenges life would throw their way? The celebrations swirled around him, but he was left pondering the most pressing question of all: would love endure through the falls they would face? Each laugh, each tear, perhaps this was just the beginning of a journey fraught with both struggles and triumphs. As the night deepened, Mike felt the weight of reality lowering upon him like a blanket, embracing all the love and vulnerability they would share. Would resilience be their guiding light when life knocked them down? As the evening unfolded, the celebration shimmered with laughter and light. Mike watched Emily move gracefully from table to table, soaking in the love that enveloped her. Jake, radiant in his humble suit, stood near the dance floor, his smile a beacon of joy. They were starting a new chapter, and with each toast given and every shared memory recounted, the sense of community in that small church swelled. But Mike couldn't shake the reflection tugging at his heart. While this day was a joyful milestone, it also marked an uncertain future. Emily and Jake would face trials just as Mike and his wife had. Each joy might come intertwined with anchors of hardship. He glanced at their wedding gifts stacked by the altar, both practical and sentimental. Would they have the wisdom to navigate the seasons of life with the grace he hoped for them? "Hey, Dad." Emily's voice cut through his thoughts like a warm breeze. She approached him, eyes sparkling. "You okay? You had quite the tumble earlier." "I'm upright, aren't I?" He chuckled, lightening the air with humor even he didn't feel. "Can't believe I made such a spectacular entrance." "Just make sure you don't steal my spotlight today," she teased, reaching up to hug him tightly. "I love you, Dad." The sincerity in her voice, laced with the wisdom of their shared struggles, made his heart swell. He saw a piece of himself in her, a courageous spirit ready to embrace life, fall and rise again. Still, he couldn't ignore the gnawing worry. "You and Jake, you'll face hard times too, sweetheart. Just remember, the love you share will carry you through." Emily stepped back, her expression turning serious for a moment. "We're ready for whatever comes. We'll hold each other up just like you and Mom did for me." Her words struck him. Love, support, and steadfastness. It was the very foundation of their family. Through storms and sunny days, they had weathered it all, learning to trust each other. With newfound resolve, Mike watched as Jake approached, his eyes shining with determination. "Mr. Henderson, can I steal your daughter for a dance?" he asked. The pride in Jake's voice matched the depth of his character. Mike nodded, accepting this young man, not just as a son-in-law but as a partner who promised to hold Emily's hand through life's journey. As they danced, a circle of friends and family gathered, laughter rising and mingling with the music. Mike swayed along, feeling each beat resonate with hope and joy. Each step of the couple reminded him of their bond, one that transcends the challenges that life may throw their way. Hours flew by. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow through the church windows. A glance at Emily, toiling blissfully in Jake's arms, made his heart ache with mixed emotions. In their happiness, he also sensed the unmistakable shadow of uncertainty. What challenges would come their way? Would their love be enough? These questions loomed larger in Mike's heart, and worries made him long for reassurance. As if reading his mind, a wise friend approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay to be scared, Mike. Love isn't the absence of fear. It's the strength to face it together." The words settled around him like a gentle embrace. Life would not always be easy, but their connections could be their truest strength when tested. They could stumble and still rise again. As Mike stepped back, a soft smile crossed his face. Love had its own unique power. It warmed hearts and forged unforgettable bonds. Yet, the night held its breath, and a new reality beckoned. What would tomorrow bring for Emily and Jake? That question hung in the air like a whisper, waiting to be answered, as he drifted into the crowd, feeling the pulse of uncertain, but brave, love at the heart of it all. The music swelled, filling the church with echoes of joy. As Mike took a moment to breathe in the scene around him, he felt a deep sense of gratitude wash over him. Friends and family were dancing, their laughter like bright fireworks against the darkening sky. Each joyful face reminded him of the unity that moments like these could create, but it was too long before Mike's thoughts returned to Emily and Jake, spiraling away from the celebration. What truths did the future hold for them? He rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture he often performed when confronted with uncomfortable feelings. Watching his daughter move freely through the crowd, he remembered how she had once been his little girl, holding his hand tight as they crossed the street. Now, she navigated a world of her own choice. "Look at them," a familiar voice broke through his reverie. It was Lisa, his wife, her warm smile lighting up her face. "They're so in love." Mike glanced over at the dancing couple again, realizing how true that was. Jake spun Emily around, both of them laughing as they lost themselves in the music. He wondered if they were even aware of their audience, the cheering friends, the family who had traveled miles to witness this love solidify into something that felt bigger than themselves. He turned to Lisa, who had leaned against the wall for a moment's rest. "Do you think their love will withstand the storms?" he asked, the weight of his worries spilling into the open air. Love is a lot like this dance, Mike, she replied, taking his hand as they both watched the ceremony unfold. It has its highs and lows. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow. And every now and then you might step on each other's toes. Her gentle laughter broke the tension in him. He nodded, knowing she was right. They had their own share of missteps during their years together, arguments, misunderstandings, and countless moments where it felt easier to break than to mend. But they had always chosen to dance again, to step carefully back together. He felt a rush of warmth toward her for that, something like a reassurance that maybe, just maybe, Emily and Jake would find their way in their own unfolding story. As the night pressed on, Mike joined Lisa on the dance floor, and the two of them swayed together. It was in that intimate space where they shared whispers and laughter, moments of nostalgia filled with memories of their own wedding days. The young couple's mantra echoed around them: "We'll hold each other up," and Mike felt how, through years of commitment, they had also learned to lean on one another, but the more he thought, the more unease crept back in. He was proud, of course, yet there was that nagging feeling that he hadn't prepared them enough for life's realities. What if things got tough? What if they fought, or the routine turned stale? Could love alone carry them through? Suddenly, a commotion burst forth at the edge of the dance floor. A stray balloon had popped, causing a chain reaction of shrieks and giggles. The laughter peeled away the heaviness in the air. A child nearby started to cry, and a father swooped in to comfort his little one, cradling them against his chest, whispering softly in their ear. Mike watched the father's gentle action, the familiar protective instinct rising in his chest. Wouldn't it be nice if life were that easy? A simple hug to soothe the worries away. Back in front of him, Emily was now leading Jake into the center of the dance floor, and Mike could see her unfiltered happiness sparkling. But behind that glow, there had to be challenges waiting in the wings, looming shadows in the incandescence. As the music switched to a slower beat, he felt a flicker of hope that they would be able to navigate everything that would come their way. But how could he ensure they were truly ready? With the dance intensifying, he made his way over to Emily, realizing it was now or never. He wanted to share his fears, give her one more piece of insight to prepare her for the journey ahead. "Emily, can I?" he began just as Jake swept her into an embrace, pulling her back into the rhythm, but before he could finish, a loud crash erupted from the kitchen, freezing everyone in their tracks. The night paused, breaths collectively held, and in that silence, Mike felt a rush of anxiety grip his heart. What now? The sound shook through him like an omen. What trouble was about to unfold, and would they be able to handle it? As whispers and murmurs spread, Mike's heart raced, waiting for the uncertainty to reveal its hand. The panic danced in the air as everyone turned toward the kitchen, eyes wide with confusion. The joyful atmosphere shattered like glass, replaced by a hushed uncertainty. Mike's heart thudded loudly in his chest. He fought the strong urge to rush towards the noise, adrenaline pooling in his veins as dread settled in. Lisa squeezed his hand tightly, grounding him amidst the chaos. "Let us see what happened," she whispered, her tone a mixture of concern and encouragement. Together, they navigated their way through dancing guests, all eyes darting with curiosity and worry. When they reached the threshold of the kitchen, Mike took a breath, the aroma of baked goods swirling around him, mingling awkwardly with the tension. There, amid the remnants of what had once been a beautifully laid-out buffet, they found John, an older family friend, trying to pick himself up off the floor. The tablecloth had slipped, sending plates and dishes crashing to the ground, a cacophony of clattering porcelain surrounded by the soft gasps of attendees. "Just a minor mishap," John exclaimed with a sheepish grin, his face flush. The laughter that had been escaping moments earlier turned into a refrain of relief, easing some of the tension strung tight among the guests. Mike felt a wave of laughter bubble up inside him, almost inappropriately. Was life just a series of embarrassing falls, both literal and figurative? He glanced at Lisa, who matched his expression with a smirk of her own, a silent understanding passing between them. It was these moments of unexpected chaos that often led to laughter, to connection. "Let us help him clean this up," she said, setting her sights on the scattered mess. Before he could respond, Emily and Jake joined them at the kitchen's doorstep, worry etched on their faces. "Is everyone okay?" Emily asked, anxiety dancing behind her light brown eyes, searching her father's gaze for reassurance. "I think so. Just a little clumsy, that's all," Lisa said lightly, as she began picking up a plate. The warmth in her voice seemed to ease Emily's concern, just a touch. Jake stepped forward, extending a hand to John. "We can take care of this, right? No need to let one little spill ruin the night." The collective laughter that followed was heartfelt, a unifying moment scooping everyone back into the light. As they all worked side by side, Mike noticed a shift in the energy of the group. Instead of feeling burdened by the accident, it became an opportunity for shared memories. Each broken plate seemed to evoke stories of past family gatherings, upside-down cakes that had toppled, and the greasy splatters from overly ambitious cooks. The room filled with lively exchanges, everyone leaning into the simplicity of community, reminiscing, and laughing. Caught in the moment, Mike felt his worries drift further away. Perhaps this was the very lesson he had been seeking. Life was unpredictable, full of slips and stumbles, but it was also about how they responded. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and the rhythmic sounds of cleaning, he experienced the strength of their bond. They were there for each other, ready to lend a hand, even when things went awry. As the last of the mess came together, Mike turned his focus to Emily. "Remember this: when things get messy, lean on each other," he said softly, his heart brimming with thoughts he wished he had shared earlier. He caught a glimpse of understanding in her eyes, a shared spark of wisdom amidst the chaos. She nodded, a mixture of hope and determination creating a luminous glow about her. The music floated back in, pouring through the kitchen door, and Mike felt a whisper of joy take hold once more. But just as he thought they could return to the fun, a sudden silence fell again. It was broken shortly after by a shrill voice, announcing that the cake had toppled too. He exchanged looks with Lisa. What more was waiting behind this exciting evening? Would the lessons gathered still hold under the weight of the evening's complexity? With lingering uncertainty, they moved back towards the party, Mike's heart both lighter and heavier, as the unexpected adventures loomed ahead. What else awaited them in this night of life, love, and surprises? As Mike and Lisa stepped back into the party, the vibrant music flowed like a river, teasing them away from the chaos of the kitchen. The lively chatter created a tapestry of warmth, wrapping them in a cozy embrace. But beneath that surface, Mike could still feel a slight tremor of anxiety. What other surprises could the night hold? He felt Emily's hand slip into his, her small fingers wrapping around his tightly. She was beaming, the worry from moments ago melted away into pure excitement. Her energy was contagious, and for that, he was grateful. They remained at the edge of the bustling crowd, taking in the lively scene. Dancers swirled on the floor, laughter bounced off the walls, and the aroma of food lingered, a reminder of the evening's earlier mishaps. "Bet they're still discussing the cake," Lisa said, her voice light as she scanned the room. Mike chuckled, imagining the exaggerated tales that must surely be spinning about the incident. "Yeah, it's probably already a legend," he teased, nudging Emily with his shoulder. The three of them turned toward the buffet table, still intact despite the earlier disaster. The mood was brighter than ever, filled with so much love and laughter that it lit up the entire room. But as Mike soaked it all in, he couldn't help but notice the way comparisons began to creep into his mind. Other families came to mind, those where everything seemed perfectly polished and controlled. "Dad? You okay?" Emily's innocent question broke through his thoughts, pulling him back to the moment. "Yeah, just getting lost in my head," he replied, forcing a smile. He didn't want them to see him worry. Not tonight. Across the room, he spotted John, who was now at the punch bowl, regaling a small group with exaggerated gestures that drew laughter. The older man caught Mike's eye and raised his glass in a toast, a silly grin plastered across his face. It was a reminder of how laughter has a way of healing during the most chaotic moments. Just then, Lisa squeezed his arm, bringing him back to what mattered. "Look, the dance floor is open. Let us get in there." We need to celebrate. Despite the apprehension fluttering in his stomach, Mike couldn't resist her enthusiasm. Lisa had always had a way of drawing him out of his shell. Together, they joined the swirling mass of people, moving to the rhythm that seemed to pulse with life. As they danced, Mike felt the worries peel away like layers of an onion. Laughter erupted around him, filling the gaps where his unease once resided. In that moment, he realized it was not about perfection. It was about connection, love, and the shared laughter that fortified their bond. But then, as if drawn from the night's earlier clumsiness, he felt a sudden jolt beneath him. Someone rushed past, jostling him. His foot caught on the edge of a chair, and before he knew it, he was off balance. Time slowed as he stumbled, their surroundings blurring momentarily. Would this evening echo the earlier dish disaster? As laughter echoed around him, he braced himself for the fall, surreal in its slowness. Then everything seemed to snap back into sharp focus in a wild whirl. He landed in a crumpled heap, laughter now rippling through the crowd not in scorn but in mirth. Sitting on the floor, Mike looked up, completely taken aback. He expected ridicule but instead saw joy reflected in the faces of his loved ones. Lisa was laughing so hard tears danced in her eyes. "Just can't get away from those spills, can you?" she called out, still giggling as she extended a hand to help him up. Mike couldn't help but join in the laughter. Maybe he had stumbled again, but this time, it felt different. This fall wasn't a failure, it was another lesson. What else might he uncover beneath the layers of embarrassment? As he regained his footing, the night still stretched ahead with so much left to unfold. And then, amid the chaos and laughter, a voice called out, "Hey everyone! Has anyone seen the rings?" The question struck Mike like a thunderbolt. What now? The room paused. An unexpected hush descended as every pair of eyes darted toward the source of the question. Mike's heart raced. Rings? Whose rings? His mind began piecing together frantic scenarios. "Emily, your mom's wedding rings!" Mike exclaimed. He felt a knot tightening in his stomach, a mix of dread and urgency. He turned to Lisa, who had dropped her laughter and now wore a look of confusion and concern. "Let's check around the food table," she suggested, her tone serious as she scanned the room with newfound determination. "Dad, what if they fell in the punch?" Emily asked, her young voice breaking through the tension. Everyone, it seemed, was now caught up in the search. The laughter faded into whispers and hurried footsteps as guests moved in unison, searching under tables, peering into bowls, and checking the floor's crevices. With every passing second, Mike felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. These were Lisa's wedding rings, symbols of their love, representing a bond that had weathered storms and celebrated heights. And somehow, he felt as if it was his fault. Had he been more careful earlier? Why was a simple bakery incident snowballing into a treasure hunt? "Let's split up," Lisa suggested, her eyes locking onto Mike, sending him a reassuring smile. "Emily, you and Daddy check the dance floor. I'll look over here." They quickly entered the bustling dance area, where his earlier awkwardness was replaced by a familiar sense of urgency. Mike's gaze swept over the gleaming wooden floor, and he dropped to his knees, feeling the vibrations of the music resonating through him. "Nothing over here but I'll find them." Emily, on the other hand, was darting around, her little legs moving swiftly. She crouched down beside a couple of dancers, captivating them with her earnest and enthusiastic search. A few guests joined in, chuckling at her efforts, but Mike could see the slight frown creasing her brow. "Dad, we have to find them," she insisted, her tiny finger waving in the air as if making a point. He nodded, his heart swelling with pride. Emily had inherited her mom's determination. Okay. Let's check under the tables." They crawled on the ground, peering under long tablecloths. With each moment of searching, hope swayed precariously between despair and determination. How could an evening filled with joy drown so quickly under a sea of anxiety? Mike felt the weight of every heartbeat thump strongly in his chest. What would Lisa think? Would she still see this as a night of celebration? Suddenly, from beneath a nearby table, Emily's voice pierces through his jumbled thoughts. Found it. A bright glimmer caught Mike's eye as she held up a small velvet pouch, her face lit with triumph. It was a moment of pure magic. Relieved laughter bubbled up in Mike, pushing away the cloud of worry that had settled in. Lisa came running, her expression shifting instantly from concern to overwhelming joy as she reached for the pouch. You did it, Emily. With deliberation, Lisa opened the pouch to reveal her wedding rings, glistening under the sparkling fairy lights. A heartfelt wave of relief washed over Mike. He felt lighter, as if the burdens he carried were lifted in an instant. See? Just like the cake incident, he laughed, gathering Emily in a tight embrace. We can get through anything, right? She nodded, a grin spreading across her face, the bond of trust deepening, but just as joy settled back in, another voice from the crowd rippled through. Wait! Did anyone see where the cake went? The cheering laughter turned to shock, and suddenly the night was wide open again. What other surprises awaited them? Mike barely had a moment to celebrate the retrieval of the rings before the mention of the cake sent chills racing down his spine. How could this night spiral again? He glanced around, taking in the theatrical expressions of guests shocked at the latest revelation. Where did the cake go? Someone echoed, laughter mixing with concern as they cast wary eyes around the hall. We need to divide again. Lisa called, her voice firm but light. Emily tugged at Mike's hand. I want to help find it, Dad. Her determination was contagious, breathing life back into Mike's spirits. All right, we can do this. He replied, making his way toward the food tables, hoping somewhere, between the bowls of chips and trays of sandwiches, lay the cake's destiny. As he searched, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending comedy unfolding. A food fight of sorts, with everyone running after dreams of frosting and misery of crumbs. The gathering had begun as an image of elegance, but between the rings and now the cake, it felt more like an episode of some wild sitcom. Look under here, Dad. Emily's bright voice broke through the chaos. She crouched beneath a table. With enthusiasm, she pulled out a flimsy cardboard box that had slipped away from sight. Is this it? Mike sighed, peeking in. Just old napkins and empty drink cans. Nope, just trash. Keep looking. Each laugh from Emily eased some of the tension that clung to his chest. She had a way of seeing joy in every mundane twist. What do you think it looks like, Dad? I think it's white and beautiful, 2 tiers, maybe roses on top. Like a fairy tale. He replied, smiling at the imagery her question built in his mind. But fairy tales had been forgotten in the chaos. As he sifted through the remnants of the food buffet, he overheard snippets of other guests joining in the frenzy, echoing a mix of humor and frustration. What if someone took it to their table, thinking it was a regular dessert? Mike chuckled softly to himself. The thought that someone mistook a wedding cake for a mere snack felt so unreal, yet it made sense in their current pandemonium. All right, Emily, let's check the tables. They moved from table to table, lifting covers and looking beneath, laughing at the odd assortment of untouched celery sticks and leftover pizza slices. It felt good, the rhythm of the search sharpened their focus and bonded them. Each search tugged at Mike's heartstrings, echoing memories of Lisa's radiant smile as they planned this celebration. Suddenly, they stumbled upon the center table, where against all odds lay the wedding cake, unharmed yet unguarded, half hidden beneath someone's coat. The realization hit Mike like a wave. What kind of party had they thrown? Lisa appeared at that moment, her eyes sparkling with a mix of relief and mischief. Looks like we're having an adventure tonight, huh? More of a treasure hunt. Emily added, bouncing on her toes, proud of her latest discovery. The moment shifted, the night suddenly felt vibrant again, laughter bubbling up as friends and family converged around the cake. The previously anxious atmosphere faded as everyone embraced the chaos. Maybe it was just a night full of surprises. Just as the crowd burst into joyous laughter, a distant sound interrupted momentarily another drama unfolding elsewhere. "Oh no! Where's the DJ?" someone yelled. Mike felt the shadows of stress try to creep back, but he couldn't help grinning. "What's next? Maybe we'll find the missing bouquet." He joked, but his mind was already swirling with possibilities of how everything would play out, yet in the back of his mind loomed a thought: what if this evening held deeper truths waiting to be uncovered? What if by the end of the night, not just the cake but something else treasured might slip from their grasp? As he glanced over at Lisa, who was now laughing with their friends, the excitement for the night ahead beckoned like the flickering flame of a candle. What greater stories would tonight unveil? The air buzzed with a newfound energy as people flocked around the cake, laughter mixing with sighs of relief. Mike steadied himself, feeling the warmth of the moment wrap around him like a comforting hug. The cake might have been saved, but the night wasn't quite ready to settle down just yet. "Let's cut the cake," Lisa suggested, her voice carrying a playful tone that made everyone cheer. Emily clapped, her eyes wide with anticipation. "Can I help, Dad?" she asked, practically bouncing on the balls of her feet. "Of course," he replied, his heart swelling with pride. He watched as his daughter scampered toward the cake, her enthusiasm infectious. In that split second, he realized how much this was about more than just cake. It was about family, laughter, and the stories they would share for years to come. As they made their way to the cake-cutting station, the cheerful chatter around the hall swirled like autumn leaves in the wind. But just as they reached the table, a loud crash echoed through the room. Mike turned sharply to see a guest, Tom, a longtime family friend, fighting with the DJ's equipment like it was an unruly child. Come on! Come on!" Tom grumbled, fiddling with wires that looked like a tangled mess. "I just want to get this working. The DJ is missing, and now the sound system's out," someone yelled. Groans followed, a collective wave of incredulity washing over the guests. Tension cracked in the air, but the humor wasn't lost either. "Maybe he ran off with the cake," joked Lisa, stifling laughter. The joke hit hard, and cheers erupted again, easing some of the worries. "Focus on the cake," Mike urged, his eyes catching Emily's eager grin. "Let's not let anything ruin this. Ready, Em?" She nodded vigorously, barely containing her excitement as they picked up the knife together. Just as he pressed the blade into the soft frosting, a flicker of uncertainty arose within him. What lay beneath those perfectly frosted layers? Would it taste as sweet as their journey together? They had dreamed of this day through sleepless nights and careful planning, but life had a strange way of surprising them. He about to cut another slice when, suddenly, a loud gasp broke through the chatter. Mike turned to see Tom staggering backward, a look of horror plastered across his face. "Guys! I think I broke it." The nearby sound system blared to life unexpectedly, blasting a random song that turned the hall into a chaotic dance club. Guests gasped, some laughed uncontrollably, and others looked confused. Mike couldn't help but chuckle at the scene. Laughter poured out of him, unrestrained and genuine. "Looks like the party's kicked up a notch. Maybe Tom's the DJ now," shouted Emily, dragging her dad into the growing wave of laughter. As the absurdity of the situation settled in, it dawned on Mike that this wasn't just about the cake or the songs or even the missing DJ. It was about how they leaned into whatever came next. He thought about the future, about moments they could not predict. Before they could cut the cake, a familiar little voice piped up from the crowd. "What if we need to fix the music before we can eat?" A mischievous smile spread across Emily's face. "Or maybe we dance on this mess first?" Lisa chimed in, her mischievous tone infectious. With laughter rippling through the room, Mike felt a sense of relief that washed over him like a cool breeze. For tonight, everything was imperfectly perfect. But as they prepared to slice into the cake, a chilling thought crept back into his mind. What other surprises would this night hold? With the DJ's chaos and missing songs, it felt like they were just getting started. As the laughter danced throughout the crowd, Mike caught sight of Lisa looking over at him, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of excitement and curiosity. What lay ahead for them in this wild, unpredictable evening? Mike loosened his grip on the cake knife, caught in the sparkling glow of Emily's eyes. It took a beat to pull him away from the whirlwind of laughter surrounding them. The music blared and, swaying to the oddity of the situation, people began to dance. Unplanned but undeniably joyful, they moved like a current, embracing the chaos rather than shying away from it. "Ready, Dad?" Emily's voice cut through the haze, and he realized she was still waiting, knife in hand, determined to sever through the layers of frosting that had brought them to this moment. He nodded, feeling a wave of warmth wash over him. "Let us do this." They plunged the knife into the cake, laughter ringing in the air as they both pulled away the first slice. The rich aroma of chocolate mixed with vanilla wafted through the room, wrapping everyone in a nostalgic embrace. As he pulled the knife free, a beautiful slice emerged perfectly intact. "Cake!" Emily exclaimed, her delight pure and infectious. "Now we can party." The crowd cheered, eyes on them and the once-needed chaos lost in the sweetness of the moment. Just as they handed the first piece to Lisa, the music shifted. The DJ might have gone missing, but that didn't stop the rhythm. The crowd's feet kept tapping, the laughter soared. This was living. "Look at this." "You'd think we planned it," Lisa said, grinning as she took a slice of cake, balancing it precariously on her plate. Though a moment of insecurity flared in Mike's chest, he brushed it away. Maybe losing the DJ was a blessing wrapped in an odd sort of chaos. Then, from somewhere in the back, he overheard snippets of conversation. "Crazy, huh?" One guest mused, laughter mingling with the dance beats. "This is the best wedding I've ever been to." The warmth in Mike's chest spread. Looking over at Emily, joy flickered in her eyes as she devoured her piece. This was the kind of memory that stuck, the kind that years later would resurface with tender smiles. Before he could share his joy, a new sound came from the gathering. It was a crescendo, and suddenly the lights dimmed slightly, something shifted in the air, some electric pulse making him feel more alive than ever. Lisa, caught up in the energy, raised her arms and beckoned everyone to the dance floor. "Let us celebrate. This night isn't complete until we dance." Mike watched as the crowd surged forward, drawn like moths to the flame. It was about more than just dancing. It was about connection, about being part of something bigger. And Mike felt it. He not only wanted to know what would come next, he needed to. Caught in a thrill, he laughed and took Emily's hand. "Are you ready to dance, Em?" "Always, Dad." She shouted, her voice pealing with excitement. They made their way to the dance floor. Emily twirled, her laughter ringing above the blended sound of voices and music. As he swung her around, he felt a rush of gratitude and love for this moment, raw and real. But amidst the joy, one thread of doubt clung to him: what would happen when the night ended? As they danced, lost in the rhythm, Mike couldn't shake the feeling of impending change. He watched Lisa mirror Emily's movements, their bond lighting up the dance floor. Could this evening hold lessons he hadn't even begun to see? The song shifted again, a slower tune guiding them into an unexpected sway. Mike cupped Emily's tiny hands, feeling her warmth radiate. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the edge of the hall. "Whoa, you okay?" Someone called out, eyes darted toward the noise, but he couldn't pull his gaze from Emily's expression. Her innocence shone through, excited, dramatic. What had just happened? "Let us check it out," she said, tugging him in the direction of the sound. Perhaps it was more than just cake and dancing that lay behind the curtain of the night. With his heart racing, he followed her. This could be the twist that tested everything he thought he knew about celebration, family, and unexpected lessons waiting to unfold. What would he discover when they turned the corner? As Mike and Emily rushed toward the commotion, the crowd surged behind them, curiosity spreading like wildfire. Each step felt electrifying, a meld of anxiety and anticipation. They turned the corner into the dimly lit hallway, where the laughter had dimmed to whispers and a few concerned faces peered inside a small room. "What is happening?" Mike asked, his voice calm yet urgent. Instead of answering, a little boy emerged from the room, covered in frosting, eyes wide with excitement. "I found more cake!" he exclaimed. The room erupted into laughter and cheers as Mike squeezed Emily's hand tighter in disbelief. More cake. His thoughts raced back to the original cake. Had they missed an entire tier? Inside the room, a few kids had managed to raid the dessert table, finding an unguarded bowl of leftover frosting and a beaten-up cupcake tower. The sight was hilarious. Faces smeared with frosting, chaos in full swing, giggles uncontained, all a part of what made these weddings unforgettable. What would we do without these little adventurers? He chuckled, his heart lifting. The innocence of kids reminded him of how life was all about these moments, the messy, the silly, and the joy intertwined. And just like that, the stress he had carried through the night began to dissolve. "Can we go in, Dad?" Emily's excitement was palpable, her eyes shimmering with the thrill of chaos. "Please." "Why not?" He smiled brightly, leading her into the room. They stepped into the hubbub, laughter exploding all around them. Joining in the fun, Mike felt something shift within himself. This was about the journey, not the perfection. As they played, the atmosphere around them shifted again. Lisa, noticing the fun, stepped into the room, her laughter filling the air like sweet music. "What did I miss?" she asked, shaking her head at the joyful disaster before her. "Just a little cake rescue mission," Mike said cheerfully. "Looks like it's a hit." She grinned, taking Emily's hand. Together, they fell into the playful crowd, creating moments of connection with laughter and spontaneous joy. As the room burst into song, everyone discovering the rhythm of joy amidst the frosting and laughter, Mike took a step back, catching his breath. Each face in the crowd sparkled with pure happiness, reminding him of their community's strength and warmth. The earlier uncertainties faded away. Maybe tonight wasn't about controlling every detail but embracing the chaos. Suddenly, the DJ's equipment crackled and burst back to life, playing an entirely new track, a perfect tune for dancing. The magic of connection simmered in the air as friends, young and old, pulled together on the dance floor, gathered by the spirit of togetherness, each face glowing with exhilaration. "Woo!" Emily cheered, twirling around, lost in the rhythm. She grabbed Mike's hand once more. "Dance with me." And he couldn't resist. Wrapping her in his arms, he spun her around, the chaos swirling around them like cotton candy spun with love. They danced freely, laughter spilling from their lips, love exploding in every movement. Every stumble and fall they'd faced, from the ringing giggles of community to the mishaps of the night, crafted a warmth within him that felt like home. This wasn't just about Emily and Jake beginning a new chapter, it was a celebration of their past, present, and future woven together with joy and connection. When Emily caught his eye, radiating happiness, he realized this night had shaped itself into something extraordinary. It was never about an immaculate celebration but rather the moments that unfolded, the inherent support shining through every struggle and success. Eventually, the music faded, and guests began to gather and sway, allowing the last notes to soak in the magic of the night. The room pulsed with an energy that felt alive. Yet, amid the joyous euphoria, Mike felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He saw now that Emily was ready to dance through life with Jake, laughter alongside tears, sweetness tangled amid the messiness of it all. As they all joined hands for one final dance, Mike whispered to Emily, "Always remember, just like tonight, life's a dance. And with love, you can rise after every fall." "Yes, Dad." Emily beamed, squeezing his hand tightly, confidence radiating from her small frame as if she had carried all the lessons of love and resilience. And when the final song played, binding them all in a moment frozen in time, Mike closed his eyes, feeling grateful for an unforgettable evening and a lifetime of love they would share just like this, this was the moment to celebrate, and Mike knew every single trial faced would only bring them closer together. As the night faded, imperfection now an adored companion and joyful memories gathered like fireflies in his heart, he felt a rush of hope that endured always. Now it was time to share this magic. Don't wait not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us spread the love. Comment below your favorite moments and your feelings about this incredible ending. And you need to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.